What is up, guys? And in this video I'll be showing you how you do time lapses in your Nikon Z50 or any Nikon Z60, whatever. But I'm gonna apply, it's gonna be basically, you can actually shoot time lapses on this guy. I'm gonna show you why and how I'm taking you on the journey with me. And you're wondering why the hell I'm in my car? Because you can't really take time lapses indoors. So I'm gonna show you all the functions in this guy. I'm gonna show you it in real world, real time, take you on the journey with me. And if you're part of this crew, smash that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe for that notification bell. My name's Peter, and let's get time lapsing. Alright guys, the first thing you need to go is you need to turn your movie settings, not from video, to photo mode. Next, depending on how you like to expose your aperture, you can't do it in manual, but you need to do either fully programmed or auto aperture priority. So I'm just going to put it on P mode just for this example. Next, what you'll need to do is you go into your menu, and it is under photo shooting. So right here is the interval timer shooting. So that itself is the actual time lapse where your camera will actually take photos, and within your SD card you'll have like 1,000 photos. So what you want to actually do is to have videos is you want to go into time-lapse movie, and then you want to go into time-lapse movie mode. So time-lapse movie mode will actually have, instead of having like 1,000 photos, what you'll actually have is one condensed video file. So that is the mode that you're going for, but it's literally the same thing that applies. As you can see here, you can choose the start time, you can choose the intervals. So the interval is the timing between each shot. You can have your exposure smoothing. I usually have silent photography turned on because what it'll do is it'll program your camera to have that clicking sound for every, let's say, 10 seconds, and it can get annoying. So your best bet is to film or do this in silent photography mode turned on. So I always turn that on. Next, okay, we actually go into time-lapse movie mode, and making sure you have a large enough SD card. Link description below if you want to check out which SD card I'm using. I'm using 128 gigs. That is my preferred size. So I click OK. I change my interval. So right now it's programmed to take 2 photos or 2 movies every 2 seconds. This is a minute. So I'm going to change this up right here. So I'm going to change it to, for every, let's say, 5 seconds, it's going to take a photo. So I'm going to press back, you press OK. Your shooting time or your shooting duration is, the cool thing about Nikon is that you can just press the I button or the question mark, and it'll tell you what each mode does. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The camera automatically takes photos at selected intervals and joins them into a movie. Sound is not recorded. So even though it's a time-lapse movie, you're still taking authentic, real, not just pressing record, you're actually taking photos. So your shooting time for this example, I'm going to put it at, let's put it at 3 minutes, right? So for every 5 seconds, it's going to take a photo for 3 minutes continuously. I have exposure smoothing on, as you can see what it does. Adjust the exposure. So the exposure isn't going to be dramatically different for each shot, as well as I turn on silent photography. You go down, you choose your frame size. If you want to copy me exactly, I'm actually doing 4K, 24 frames per second. You go back here, interval priority, you can see what it does here. If you have it on, it'll maintain the interval between shots and it prioritize exposures. To ensure constant aperture, depending on the mode, you can AFC, AFF. The thing is, you cannot have it on AFF. I like to have it on manual focus. So I'm going to focus on one thing and making sure that it does not move. So I have it on manual focus. And whenever you're ready, you can just press start. And right here is you're going to have framing. And then it'll actually show you, if you press that, figure out where your framing is, right? And then you press start and it will turn on and it'll start taking photos. So I'm going to set up, what you need for this is a tripod. I'm going to set up my Manfrotto Pixie Evo 2. It holds this Z50 very well. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. So right now, guys, I have it on my Manfrotto. Link in the description if you want to check that out. Making sure that my framing is proper So I'm set this up right here, making sure that it is level. Then, like you already know, is I'm gonna go to time-lapse movie mode. So just for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna set it for every 3 seconds. It's gonna take a shot. See my framing, and then go back to menu, time-lapse movie mode. Everything's off, interval on, and now we're all ready to go. So what I do now is I'm gonna press start. It'll say preparing. And now with the silent shutter on, it's taking a photo, as you can see, every 3 seconds, and it's gonna do this for 3 minutes. After, what it does is it's gonna compile that into a whatever time you set it for the duration of a video file, instead of having 1,000 photos. So as you can see, why I put it on silent photography on is it's going to be annoying. You're going to hear that shutter constantly go off. So you usually like to have that off. And this is where you have your time lapse. This is where the magic happens. And if all you want to do is to cancel this, you can either turn off your camera or go on top, flick it down to video mode, and it will stop this mode if you don't want to continuously keep doing a time lapse. And you'll know that it is doing the time lapse option is you can see, just look at the green light right there. And as you can see here, it is still taking a photo every 3 seconds. This actually works well if it's like night photography or you want to have some sort of cool scenic city skyline. You can take this during the nighttime where there's lots of light movement and cars. You'll see a lot cool of a time-lapse effect in comparison to the daytime, or for example, right now, there isn't much of a scenic view, but the same principles apply, guys. The same principles, okay? Remember that. Now that after 3 minutes has passed, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press the preview button, and as you can see, it is actually a 2 second, depending on how long it was, it compiled a 2 second time lapse. So you have to think about it. If you're shooting in 24 frames, right? It needs 24 pictures for 1 second. So for 2 seconds, there is 50 pictures. So I'm gonna press play and see how that looks, right? And the cool thing about that is there is a little bit of movement there with the people walking by. So as long as there's movement in terms of the time lapse, you'll see that it creates that time-lapse effect without having to waste a lot of storage using, let's say, actually pressing record and having a 4K video. And that, guys, is how you do time lapses on your Nikon Z50, and the same thing applies as well to the whole Z family, whether that's a Z6, a Z7, you know, your Z5s, all of it applies. And that's the cool thing of having an APS-C, is that it's the same menu and the same systems. And that, guys, that is how you do time-lapse on your Nikon Z50. And when you do movie mode, the whole point of having that time-lapse function in movies is that you don't have like a bajillion photos. You can do interval shooting, but I like to use interval movie, and how it pretty much takes 1,000 photos all compiled in within a 5-second clip, for example. It's a lot more easier. And if you watch this far, make sure you grab my free camera guide. You want to get more serious, I also have a crash course on how you can use a Nikon camera from taking all your way from auto to manual like a true pro. And make sure you check out my other videos on the Nikon Z50 as well. I show you the best settings below, as well as can you shoot slow motion, the F to Z adapter. I have all these videos. Make sure you check that out. Links description below. My name's Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you guys can always create something. Cheers.